Hi students, here we are back at Çatalhöyük. Now we're looking at here is a typical dwelling in Çatalhöyük. Now remember, you would have accessed it from the roof. There would have been a hole in the roof. I like this cutaway because you can see how you would enter down into the dwelling space rather than from the side. The upper level would have been a multi-purpose area. Perhaps this would have been where the cooking would have happened to keep out the smoke and the fires from the interior dwelling. The interior dwelling is often divided into these platforms, which you can see here, the square platforms. And most of the dwellings within Çatalhöyük also feature an area that is defined by these cow horns. Now, we'll get into that in a little bit, but throughout Çatalhöyük, we have noticed paintings on the walls. So the walls, let's talk about those. The walls are made out of clay or brick or adobe, you might even know them as. So it's these dense, compact blocks, man-made bricks of clay that have been sun-dried. And then the bricks are assembled together to create these walls and roofs. The interior of these rectangular dwellings are often treated with white plaster, and that plaster is a finish treatment to the wall that sometimes is painted with decorative elements. We're going to look at one of the surviving wall paintings in a little bit. Another curious thing that has been discovered at Çatalhöyük is this figure here. What? A large woman who stands on a throne of lions or tigers, some kind of a fierce beast, right? This figure, doesn't she kind of remind you of the Venus of Willendorf? But wait. Venus of Willendorf, that's like 28,000 BCE, and here we are in the Neolithic period. Well, let's take those same ideas of fertility and power over nature and apply it to this. Perhaps she is an embodiment of a goddess or a woman in power in this area? We don't know. But it is a very interesting connection between the fertility of those ample bosom and body of the woman of Willendorf, with this very full-bodied female figure sitting on this throne of lions. Now that's another thing too. Lions, I mean, like, why not, puppies or goats? Because she's sitting on these ferocious figures, it adds this ferocity to her, this regalness, this power, this strength. I can't give you any more about her because we don't know any more about her, but we're going to keep this kind of context as we move through the semester. Here, this is a restored view of a shrine room. And now I use the term shrine room in quotes because, again, it's unfair to associate this with something sacred, but many of the dwellings within Çatalhöyük feature these spaces that have these cow skulls that have been treated and decorated and mounted on the walls. Here we go. So the skulls were cleaned of flesh and then covered in clay and evidence of paint. So they were intentional. And many of them have survived in their original locations within the dwellings themselves. Here we go again, another view. Archaeologists call these, quote, shrine rooms because, well, there had to have been some very clear understanding for the people of Çatalhöyük to have multiples of these throughout. This isn't just one person who had some extra skulls lying around and thought they would do this. There's some kind of shared understanding of what these have in terms of a meaning. And their placement in many of the units perhaps suggests an altar or or a sacred space. Why a sacred space? Why can't you say this is the kitchen? Let's go back to the intention of the artwork. The artwork being the manipulation of the cow skull into these sculpted forms that would have been painted. It takes time, it takes intention, and look at these massive horns on these figures. These cows are huge. Think back to our cave paintings. Look at the way, or think about the way we looked up at those cows. Their strength, their weight, their mass, their muscles. Is that being translated here later on in the Neolithic? We see a Paleolithic woman of Willendorf being translated into something in the Neolithic. Why can we not also translate the majesty of those cows to this Neolithic settlement? So we're not quite sure. Maybe there was some kind of worship of a cow deity. We see that in a lot of early faiths. We see that in a lot of faiths still today. So it's really fun to see this connection between humans, that human behavior throughout time, throughout history.